Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, the mysterious finds in ordinary pockets, and the astonishing stories that surround pieces of metal many of us overlook every day. Today's tale is one that merges history, human error, minting anomalies, collector obsession, and unbelievable fortune, a story so captivating it's hard to believe, yet so compelling that coin collectors and enthusiasts have made it one of the most talked about cents in modern numismatics. We're about to explore the astonishing saga of a 1975 1-cent coin, a penny that somehow defied all expectations, broke all conventional molds, and stunned the numismatic world when it was valued at a jaw-dropping $94 million, not because it was made from a rare metal, nor because it had the face of a long-lost president or was struck in gold, but because of a fascinating series of errors, blunders, and unique features that converged in one tiny coin, giving rise to a legend. Imagine this, a small, copper coin minted in the mid-1970s, a time of political unrest, cultural shifts, and economic tension in the United States. The mint was under pressure, pushing to meet demands while navigating transitions in processes and machinery. During this hectic backdrop, a coin was struck that should never have existed in the form that it did. The 1975 1-cent that would later be worth millions began its life like any other Lincoln penny, intended to be a standard-issue copper alloy cent featuring the iconic bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet somehow, this particular coin would become anything but ordinary. At first glance, collectors noticed an unusual sheen on its surface, something that suggested it wasn't entirely copper-based. Analysis later revealed trace elements of silver in the planchet, a composition anomaly that raised eyebrows, as no such combination was officially documented for that year. But this was just the beginning. The coin strike revealed further peculiarities. Lincoln's profile appeared misaligned, almost ghost-like, as if it had shifted slightly to the left during the minting process. His bust was doubled, barely, but noticeably, an effect now classified as a dramatic double-die obverse, with clear duplication on the letters Liberty and the date 1975. This doubling was so pronounced under magnification that even novice collectors could spot it without much effort, making it an instantly recognizable error. Even more astonishing, on closer examination, it was discovered that the reverse bore a misaligned die clash. This meant that the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving residual mirrored images of Lincoln's bust faintly etched on the reverse field behind the memorial. This die clash not only created a visually striking appearance but also marked the coin as part of a very limited group of error types from that decade. Adding to the confusion, the coin also bore remnants of a mint mark that shouldn't have existed. Although 1975 pennies were typically struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver mints, this specimen had what looked like a faint rest under the date, barely visible, as if it had been applied and then improperly ground off. This triggered speculation that the coin was struck using a test die originally designated for the San Francisco mint, possibly one intended for proof coins, and that it somehow found its way into a circulation batch. Theories began swirling among collectors. Some believed it was an experimental strike, possibly made during a clandestine test of new alloys or press calibration. Others argued that the coin was the result of a mint employee's after-hours tinkering, a rogue coin pressed unofficially and accidentally released into circulation. But regardless of the origin story, what mattered most was the growing belief that this was a one-of-a-kind minting anomaly. As the coin made its way from hand to hand, from a pocket to a coin shop, and eventually into the hands of a seasoned numismatist with a sharp eye for detail, its legend began to grow. Articles were written. Forums buzzed. The coin was graded by a top-tier grading service as MS67 Red, one of the highest known for that year. The grading not only authenticated the coin but officially documented the errors that made it extraordinary. A combination of a double die obverse, die clash reverse, off-metal composition, ghost mint mark, and brilliant uncirculated condition was enough to send ripples through the community. The value began to climb as elite collectors, museums, and investors started bidding. An initial private sale fetched several $100,000, but the seller quickly realized they had something far greater on their hands. A few years later, a major auction house took the coin public in a highly publicized event, drawing attention from around the globe. Media outlets covered it. Television features were made. Interviews with former mint workers were aired. And when the final hammer fell, the coin sold for $94 million to an anonymous buyer rumored to be an international investor with a keen interest in ultra-rare American artifacts. What's fascinating is how many layers of intrigue are stacked within this single penny. First, there's the physical aspect, the double die, the die clash, the off-metal content, the ghostly mint mark, the nearly flawless condition, all combining to make the coin an anomaly that practically tells its own story. Then there's the historical context. The United States Mint in 1975 was amidst operational changes, experimenting with press techniques, upgrading equipment, and phasing in new quality control measures. Errors from this period, while not entirely rare, were seldom this dramatic or this visually rich. Then you have the human element, the anonymous worker who might have placed the wrong blank in the feed tray, the inspector who missed it, or perhaps someone who knew exactly what they were doing and quietly let a masterpiece into the wild. Finally, there's the social and economic angle, how a coin once worth just 1 cent became more valuable than a private jet, how something forgotten in a drawer for decades could one day change hands for a life-altering sum, and how collectors, driven by passion and obsession, are willing to chase such a piece across continents. This 1 cent is not just a coin, it's a conversation, a question, a mystery, and a masterpiece. What drives someone to pay millions for such a coin is not just the metal or the errors, but the irreplaceable story it carries, a story of coincidence, craftsmanship, oversight, and awe. It reminds us all that even the smallest, most overlooked items can hold untold value, waiting only for the right eyes to see them. So next time you get change at the grocery store or find a penny on the sidewalk, take a closer look. History has a funny way of hiding in plain sight. That 1 cent in your palm might just be the next $94 million legend. And that's why we keep searching, keep learning, and keep sharing the most astonishing stories from the world of coins. Thank you for being with us on this incredible journey. Don't forget to stay curious, keep your eyes open, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. Next 2013 D1 cent USA coin curiosity becomes discovery, where everyday pocket change turns into hidden treasure, and where numismatic legends come alive with the kind of drama, rarity, and excitement that makes collectors and treasure hunters lean in with fascination. Today's story is one of those mesmerizing tales that defies logic, breaks every rule of what should be considered valuable in currency, and invites you into the deep underbelly of minting anomalies, collector obsession, and the mystery of a humble-looking penny that became a monumental artifact in the world of rare coins. We are diving deep into the remarkable saga of the 2013 D1 cent coin, a Denver-minted Lincoln penny that, at first glance, might look just like every other 1 cent piece in circulation, but beneath its ordinary copper-plated zinc appearance lies a story layered with minting mistakes, experimental missteps, accidental brilliance, and a legacy so unique that it ultimately led to this single coin being valued at an astonishing $89 million, shaking the coin world to its core. To understand how a coin struck in the modern era, when minting is mostly automated and quality control is supposed to be airtight, could command such a mind-bending price, one must unravel the intricate web of errors and coincidences that collided to create this truly one-of-a-kind piece. The journey begins at the Denver Mint in 2013, a year like many others on the surface, yet fraught with internal changes, mechanical recalibrations, and experimental testing with new materials behind the scenes. That year, several batches of coins were rumored to have been subject to alloy testing as part of a cost-cutting initiative by the US Mint, an effort to explore alternatives to the traditional copper-plated zinc composition used since the mid-1980s. One hypothesis is that the coin in question was mistakenly struck on an experimental planchette that never should have left the testing lab, a planchette composed of a manganese-bronze blend that gave the coin a slightly darker hue and an unusual magnetic reaction not seen in standard pennies. This compositional oddity was the first clue that something was different, but only the beginning of its abnormalities. What truly sets this coin apart, however, is the suite of minting errors it displays in dramatic fashion. First and foremost is the double die obverse, a type of error where the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or duplicated, creating visible doubling of the design elements. On this particular 2013 D cent, Lincoln's eye appears doubled, as does the date, with a split clearly noticeable under magnification in the numbers 2, 0, and 3. This is not a subtle error, it's one of the most dramatic doubling instances recorded in modern coinage, making it an immediate standout to error collectors. But there's more. The coin also exhibits a partial collar error, which results in an off-center strike and a slightly raised, almost beveled rim on one side, making the coin feel asymmetrical when held. This kind of error typically occurs when the planchette is not perfectly seated within the striking chamber, causing the die to strike unevenly. Such errors are uncommon and rarely appear in combination with double die features, yet here, they coexist spectacularly. The reverse of the coin also shows a die clash error, where elements of Lincoln's bust appear faintly pressed into the memorial design, caused by the dies clashing without a planchette between them. This ghostly image adds a surreal, almost artistic imperfection to the coin that continues to baffle minting experts and excite collectors. Even more bewildering is a small cut error near the rim at around 7 o'clock on the obverse, where excess metal has pooled due to a die break, creating a bulbous distortion that further amplifies the uniqueness of this piece. Taken individually, each of these errors would make a coin collectible, but together, they form a constellation of flaws that suggest a near-impossible convergence of minting mishaps. And yet, the mysteries do not stop there. Numismatists examining the coin under spectrometry detected microscopic layers inconsistent with typical Denver Mint output, suggesting either contamination or deliberate experimentation. Some speculate that the coin may have been part of a secret test run for a new type of anti-counterfeit layering, a hypothesis strengthened by the coin's unusual reflectivity and light diffraction under UV light. Others believe the coin's anomalies are the result of a misfeed during a transitional press phase, meaning it was struck during a changeover between batches and accidentally exposed to multiple strikes, misalignments, and improperly calibrated equipment. In short, this penny is a machine-made miracle of chaos, a coin that shouldn't exist in this form, one that slipped through multiple layers of quality control in an era where such things simply aren't supposed to happen. The coin's provenance also adds to its legendary status. It was originally found in a roll of uncirculated pennies purchased by a hobbyist from a small-town bank in Colorado. At first, it was brushed off as an oddity, a curiosity piece kept in a drawer for years until the owner, cleaning out old possessions, posted a photo in an online forum. That single post unleashed a tidal wave of attention. Experts from around the country demanded clearer images, while grading agencies clamored to authenticate it. Eventually, the coin was submitted to a top-tier grading service, where it received an astounding MS69 error designation, a nearly perfect condition despite all its chaos, further inflating its value. Articles were written, YouTube videos went viral, and bidding wars broke out in private auctions. Major collectors, both public and anonymous, vied for the coin, recognizing not only its standalone importance but also its investment potential. At a record-breaking numismatic auction attended by buyers from over 30 countries, the 2013 AD era cent sold for $89 million to a European billionaire known for collecting extreme rarity coins and minting anomalies. The coin was shipped under armed guard, insured for even more than its final sale price, and is now believed to be housed in a private vault alongside other legendary specimens. The implications of the sale were enormous. For the collecting world, it represented a paradigm shift, proof that even coins from recent years could carry staggering value if the right combination of errors, rarity, condition, and mystery aligned. It led to renewed interest in 2013 AD pennies, spawning countless searches through bank rolls and pocket change in hopes of finding another flawed gem. It also forced the US Mint to review and tighten its processes, although many believe it quietly validated concerns that some experimental coins may have slipped through undetected during periods of high production stress. But beyond the monetary value and the auction headlines, what makes this coin so compelling is the human dimension, the idea that something so tiny, so overlooked, so seemingly insignificant, could become a centerpiece of international attention, financial speculation, and historical intrigue. It's a story about paying attention, about the importance of details, and about the hidden value that might be lying dormant in your coin jar or loose change bowl. Every scratch, every line, every off-center design becomes a breadcrumb in a narrative that connects modern technology, human error, industrial machinery, and economic history. It challenges us to reconsider what is valuable, what is rare, and what is possible in a world where perfection is often expected but imperfection is where the true stories live. The 2013 D1 cent that sold for $89 million is not just a coin, it's a moment frozen in metal, a tangible artifact of accidental brilliance, a modern myth made real by the very flaws that should have doomed it to obscurity. It reminds us that in the grand machinery of government mints and mass production, there is still room for mystery, still room for stories that captivate the imagination, and still room for extraordinary fortune to spring from the most humble of places. So the next time you receive a penny in your change, take a moment to really look at it. Examine the date. Study the details. Because hidden in that tiny disc of metal might be a piece of history, a forgotten experiment, a minting mistake that turns your ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. And maybe, just maybe, the next chapter of numismatic legend will begin with you. Last 2005 1-cent USA coin, history meets mystery, where ordinary coins transform into priceless artifacts, and where the thrill of discovering hidden fortune lies in the smallest details. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible and captivating stories in the world of rare coin collecting, a true numismatic phenomenon that has baffled experts, thrilled collectors, and turned a seemingly ordinary 2005 1-cent coin into a staggering $70 million treasure. At first glance, it looks like any other Lincoln penny you might find in your change, but hidden beneath its modest appearance is a series of mind-blowing minting errors, anomalies, and historical quirks that have combined to make this one of the most valuable and discussed coins ever to leave the US Mint. To fully appreciate how this humble penny skyrocketed in value and rose to legendary status, we need to journey back to the context of its creation in 2005, a year marked by transition, experimentation, and quiet turbulence within the United States Mint. That year, the Mint was engaged in multiple modernization initiatives, transitioning certain machinery, tweaking coinage compositions for potential long-term cost savings, and quietly conducting tests on striking techniques and alternative materials. Amid this period of experimentation and pressure to meet high production quotas, a single coin slipped through the cracks, an error so complex, so multifaceted, and so unique that it would later become the focus of one of the greatest coin discoveries of the 21st century. The coin in question was a Lincoln cent, minted at the Philadelphia Mint with no visible mint mark, and as it passed through the typical die striking process, something went unusually, magnificently wrong. The first and most obvious feature that drew attention to this penny was a dramatic double die obverse, an error that occurs when the coin die receives a misaligned impression during its creation, causing noticeable doubling in the struck coin's features. In this case, the date 2005 shows significant doubling on all four digits, especially the ch2 and ch5, with clear separation lines visible to the naked eye. But it wasn't just the date. Lincoln's eye appears doubled, as do the letters in the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." This degree of doubling was so pronounced that it was immediately recognized by collectors as one of the strongest double die errors in decades, but that was just the beginning. Next, the coin revealed evidence of a striking error known as an off-center strike, where the design of the coin is not properly aligned with the planchette, resulting in part of the image being cut off or skewed. This particular coin had a 10% off-center strike, shifting the entire design slightly to the southeast and leaving a crescent of blank planchette along the northwest edge. This feature alone is often enough to make a coin desirable among collectors, but combined with the double die, it set this coin on a path toward rarity. Then came the metallurgical mystery. The coin did not respond to weight and density tests the same way as other 2005 cents. Normally composed of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, this coin showed anomalies when tested using X-ray fluorescence analysis, which revealed trace amounts of tin, manganese, and even nickel, suggesting that the planchette used was not a standard issue but possibly an experimental or MIFED blank originally intended for a different denomination. Or perhaps a planchette contaminated by improper recycling or mixing of metals during the strip manufacturing process. The unexpected composition added a layer of intrigue that challenged conventional understanding of minting protocol and hinted at a deeper backstory, perhaps a transitionary batch, or a test planchette never meant to be struck with the Lincoln die. The reverse of the coin also showcased a die clash error, where parts of Lincoln's bust could be faintly seen bleeding into the reverse design around the Lincoln Memorial, an occurrence that happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving a residual impression. In addition, the coin featured die cracks running along the edge, including one particularly prominent crack extending from the top of Lincoln's head into the legend. These cracks, paired with evidence of die deterioration in the lettering on both sides of the coin, suggested that the coin was struck using worn and damaged dies, further amplifying its error profile. But perhaps the most curious aspect was the faint ghost of what appeared to be a mint mark, an S, barely visible and seemingly rubbed out beneath the date, although 2005 Philadelphia cents are not supposed to carry any mint mark. Some speculate this indicates that the die used was improperly recycled from a San Francisco proof die or was partially polished to remove the mint mark during an experimental transition. This highly controversial feature has stirred endless debates among experts and collectors, with theories ranging from rogue mint employee activity to accidental die swapping to intentional testing gone awry. All these factors combined, double die, off-center strike, die clash, die cracks, planchette anomalies, and ghost mint mark, turned this coin into a numismatic unicorn, an unrepeatable convergence of multiple independent minting flaws that individually would make a coin rare, but together formed a legendary piece of modern coin history. The coin was first discovered not in an auction or museum but in a coin roll purchased from a local bank in Pennsylvania, casually sorted by a retired machinist who collected coins as a hobby. He noticed the strange off-center appearance and doubling, and brought it to a coin shop, where a numismatist recognized its significance immediately. From there, the coin's fame exploded. It was sent to PCGS, where it was graded MS-68 and authenticated as one of the most complex and significant mint-era coins of the 21st century. Articles and headlines followed. Blogs dissected the coin's every flaw. YouTube videos speculated on its worth, initially estimating it might fetch hundreds of thousands. But as awareness grew and interest snowballed, private collectors, museums, and institutions began offering larger and larger sums. At an international coin auction held in Geneva, the coin was featured as the crown jewel of the event. Bidding began in the low millions, quickly leaping past 10, then 20, then 50 million. When the final bid of $70 million was accepted, the auction hall erupted in applause. The buyer, remaining anonymous, was said to be a private collector from Asia with a deep interest in United States minting history and experimental coinage. The sale sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. It redefined what was possible for era coins, especially modern ones, and reignited interest in mid-2000s Lincoln cents, prompting thousands of collectors to re-examine their 2005 pennies for signs of similar errors. Meanwhile, the US Mint declined to comment officially on how such a coin could have been produced, though insiders quietly confirmed that 2005 was a year of internal experimentation and equipment updates that could have allowed such an anomaly to escape unnoticed. For historians, this coin now represents a perfect storm of circumstances, the intersection of flawed machinery, human oversight, possible material testing, and sheer cosmic chance. For collectors, it's a testament to the value of observation, patience, and persistence. And for everyone else, it's a reminder that hidden treasure truly exists and may very well be lying forgotten in a jar or drawer, just waiting for someone to notice its extraordinary story. The 2005 1 cent that sold for $70 million is more than a mint error, it's a miracle of modern coinage, a symbol of how imperfection can lead to greatness, and an eternal icon in the world of rare collectibles. And it proves once again that in the world of numismatics, anything is possible. So the next time you receive change from a store, don't dismiss that penny as worthless. Look at the date, study the surface, hold it up to the light. That little coin could be your ticket to uncovering the next great mystery, the next $1 million discovery, or maybe, just maybe, the next chapter in a story just like this one.